Ladies and gents, welcome back. Now, the CBC is walking back some of the false claims that they had spewed about the Freedom Convoy in Ottawa. These are claims that were touted and used by the federal government to invoke the Emergencies Act, the predecessor to the War Measures Act, against peaceful protesting citizens of Canada. We have here from the Toronto Sun, Gunter, more falsehoods about the convoy are now being retracted. The CBC has retracted a second story it reported about the Freedom Convoy that turned out to be fake. Yes, this is just two of the stories that turned out to be fake that they reported on so far, right? There was a lot. The first was the absurd allegation that somehow Russians were behind the scenes pulling the convoy strings in an effort to destabilize the Canadian government. On January 28th, the edition of the CBC Power and Politics host Neil Coxell asserted, and this is the actual epitome of it. They make these assertions, and watch for this. When you watch the news, you'll hear things like "some say," "experts say," "some are saying." These are just news speak terms for I'm going to claim that other people are saying what I'm just about to give an opinion right off the top of my head about. This individual asserted there is concern that Russian actors could be continuing to fuel things as this protest grows, and perhaps even instigating it from the outside. There was no Russian involvement, nor, as it turned out, any involvement by any foreign powers. Financial investigators couldn't find any conspiracy by white supremacists either. Another of the Trudeau government's biased allegations that the CBC swallowed whole. They didn't even question this or even fact check. They didn't even look into it. They just straight up reported on it. A second CBC news story that was corrected this week involved allegations made by the Prime Minister's office and by Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland that the convoy could only have raised all the money it did, nearly $10 million, mind you, twice, on two different crowdfunding platforms, as quickly as it did if powerful international interests were funneling in large sums. Now, Chrystia Freeland, familiar with funneling large sums of money, backdoor channeling and whatnot. It seems like maybe a thing she's frequented, but that would just be, some might say that. Those allegations have been thoroughly debunked by GoFundMe and GiveSendGo, the second online fundraising platform the convoy organizers had to turn to when false allegations about unscrupulous donations and violence among protesters caused GoFundMe to freeze the first avalanche of contributions the convoy received. There was a whole litany of things that happened there. GoFundMe CEO Juan Benitez, testifying before the Commons Public Safety Committee on March 3rd, said nearly 90% of the funds collected for the convoy, but never were transferred to the organizers, came from Canada. I have a clip here of him saying that.
Can you clarify, there's been a lot of rhetoric that we've heard in Parliament about this foreign financing, that this is a foreign-funded campaign to undermine Canada's national security. But we've seen numbers from you guys that says that 88% of the donors were Canadians. Can you give us a little more color on that information?
Yes, thank you for the question. Mr. Chair, as I mentioned in my opening comments, our records here at GoFundMe show that 88% of donated funds to the Freedom Convoy campaign originated in Canada, and 86% of the donors were from Canada. That information is based on the best information that we have available to ourselves based on our data, and also in consultation with the information that we're able to gather in partnership with our payment processing partners. And in fact, a large amount of that determination is based on
you'll have to
credit card information.
Yep.
So yeah, that was Juan Benitez testifying before the Commons Public Safety Committee. Both Canadian and foreign donations were small for the most part and personal. Moreover, GoFundMe's examination of the credit cards used to make donations found no evidence of involvement by terrorist groups or that word, or other known criminals. Even the government's own terror financing investigators could find no sign of illegal money going to the convoy. And here's another clip of him, the CEO of GoFundMe, saying this.
Did you ever identify that there were anyone on a terrorist watch list in the United States or Canada or anywhere around the world that donated through GoFundMe, or any sort of organized crime elements? Have you identified any of those people that raised money for the convoy? Did that happen?
Thank you again for the question. Mr. Chair, we do extensive analysis on the activities that are happening on our platform. In fact, as our goal to be the most trusted platform in social fundraising, we actually believe that we operate in such screenings above and beyond what the regulatory climate requires of us. So we do extensive screening, including KYC and Know Your Customer for recipients of funds that are going to receive funds from GoFundMe via our payment processing partner. We also do screening of donors on our platform as well, based on the donation information they provide to us, and also information that we can gather about them from our tools, third-party tools, and consultation with our payment processing partners.
Getting back to the article, CBC fell for this narrative from the Prime Minister's office and the Liberal caucus because, like the Trudeauites, the government-funded broadcaster wanted to believe it. They were sure that only a criminal gang of foreign brainwashed bigots could be opposed to vaccine and mask mandates and lockdowns, maybe Johns Hopkins University as well. Despite the CBC repeated claims that it is a vital tax-funded service because it is how Canadians tell one another their stories across the country, it is in true north how woke progressives in one part of the country reassure woke progressives in the other part of the country that they alone hold a monopoly on intelligence, truth, and compassion. The author goes on to speak more ill of CBC, which I'm sure most of my listeners and viewers would agree with as well. I definitely will leave a link to this article in the description down below. Talk about an overreaction based on an elite class bigotry towards the truckers and their grievances. If the truckers were such a threat to reporters, wouldn't Ottawa police have laid some charges? And that gets into some of the claims made as well here.
Like, I just don't understand how you could be saying on one hand, there's all these strong ties and this is a national emergency for public safety. And I walked every day by these protests. It just doesn't really add up at all.
Minister, sorry, just 10 seconds, Minister.
Well, I would say first, it's not an insinuation. We got the advice from our law enforcement that we'd met the threshold. And secondly, Ms.
I just can't believe you put us in danger in that way, to
Ms.
be honest. Like,
there were Ottawans who were subjected to intimidation, harassment, threats of rape. I mean, and those were all supported by.
So how could we have possibly been allowed to walk by that every day?
Threats of the, I don't know if I want to repeat that word on YouTube. Threats of, let's just call it a struggle snuggle. They threatened that. Yeah. I'm sure that these politicians are aware that uttering threats like that is illegal, and criminal charges would ensue an individual for making threats like that. So spitting out allegations like that without any police reports or anything of that sort. There were no police reports, at least that I'm aware of, as of yet. And I know a lot of people have been reporting on these stories. So anything like that. But basically what the CBC has proven to everyone is that an army of NPCs are happy to follow lockstep with everything they have to say And this is why we really need to work on defunding the CBC. If I find that petition, I'll put it down in the link, a link for it down in the description down below. But there is a petition going around to defund the CBC, actually remove federal money from the CBC. We shouldn't have a state-run media anywhere. It just becomes a propaganda wing for the ruling party. But that's all I got for you right now. We'll see you in the next video, and keep on trucking.